some stupid mistakes here. That's just rubbish. I can't put that out there. The only place I can put that. It's insane to think I can put it there. It has to stay here. Y factor is just not a thing. Just not a thing. Anyway, I think that's okay though. That I will put it in there. I know I don't need that. I just don't need it. Because OY times output width integer. Also, I do need to add one to that. dy plus grad. To shuffle it a little bit forward. Now, yeah, the other thing I was going to do is, on top of everything else, output x, output y integer, but also I want global, who knows what that was, global line start integer and line end integer. These are variables that I'm going to use to determine whether or not I'm drawing the start or the end by coming down here and saying line start equals the, hang on a second, yeah, equals the integer of x dx as it now stands. And line end, oops, can't do that, line end equals the integer of output line end x. Then I say okay, hang on a moment. Sometimes this will be stepping -1. And I don't think I can do, can I step? I must be able to step by, I must be able to step by a variable. I realise that, and that is a thing that I have to think about, because I want to bump the start forward if the first pixel is not to be drawn, and the end back if the last pixel is not to be drawn. But really what that means is I need dx and I need dy, and that means that I'm going to be totally shameless now at this point and say I'm going to have yet another set of variables, and that is going to be cursor x float. And I am going to start duplicating things. I'm going to have to divvy this whole chunk of render code off into its own little internal class here. What's the problem? On command. Okay, so I'm getting away with cx and cy. I'm just very lucky. I can't use that. I just can't use it because I know, in fact, this is all very foolish. It's going to come back to bite me in about a few minutes when I try and run it. That's not in a few minutes, but when I try and run it, it is going to come back to bite me, because all these things I'm setting up, it's like, I suppose it will be looked after by the cozy environment I'm in here, in that I am definitely using some things like this. I think I'll call this, what will I call it? suppose I still have LX and LY. Do I? I've got start X, start Y. I've got output line, my array. And I've got different X, difference Y, output X and Y in integers, and this thing, which doesn't need to exist. And I've got line start and line end in integers. Okay, well, so now I've got, what is it, line X and line Y, which are floats, which I can use. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So, what I really mean is line X and line Y. And this I will just make OL SX. One of these I don't need. I don't need line X, do I? Oh, hang on a sec. Right here, I'm saying if not first pixel ls plus equals the sign of dx. Hang on a sec, maybe that's the wrong way round. It might be minus the sign of dx, because what I'm saying is, if I don't want to draw the first pixel, I want to move the line start integer forward 1 unit. Whether or not it's going left or right. And this line is either going left or right, because dx is greater than dy. I'm going to have to do a check here to see if this is vertical. I realise I can't divide by 0. In fact, am I just going to have to say here, if dx equals 0, grad equals what this means is that it's a vertical line. dx can't, hang on a sec, dx can be 0 and be greater than y. It's the magnitude of these. This is just as well I'm thinking about this. It's the magnitude of those I want to compare. Now, gosh, what am I thinking here? dx cannot be 0 under these circumstances. Am I bold enough to make that claim? If dx is 0, the absolute value of dx is also 0. Even if the value of dy is also 0 and the absolute value of dy is also 0, dx still can't be greater than it. And the absolute value of dy can't be less than 0, he said boldly. So in this case, this is not a problem. As long as I'm stepping through the x pixels, I'm never considering a vertical line. I bet I'm missing something about loads of these pieces of logic I'm saying that I'm getting, but I just, what can I say? Now here so basically what I'm saying is xd will be positive if this line is travelling to the right. xd will be positive when the line is travelling to the right, yeah. Because it's the end minus the start. When the line's travelling to the right, the start has a lower value than the end. So the sign is positive. So I add the sign when it's travelling to the right. But when it's negative, it's travelling to the left, and effectively I subtract the sign. And at this moment, the sign of xd cannot be 0. I said with such confidence. And if not last pixel, line end minus equals the sign of difference x. Yeah. Wonder if you can do a quick thing here. Where are we? SGN int. -1, 0, 1. Yeah, well, that's as expected. Ints and doubles. Where t implements I like that stuff. I've made small use of it in my other code. It's pretty cool. So that should eliminate the left and right pixels. Am I okay with this? I feel extremely not okay with it. And actually I do need to do something else, don't I? This will make it slightly incorrect. I'm adding. So I need to say dy plus equals grad. Me, no, this is, oh gosh. Yeah, no, this is a bit of a problem, because I have to think about this, and I don't like thinking. Because I can't just shuffle the two ends of the line in and expect it to be the correct gradient from then on. I need to compensate for the change in the position of the last pixel that's drawn. And that I need to compensate for any changes to the length of the line, effectively. When I take off the first pixel, I need to add a little bit to where I'm starting, and when I take off the last pixel, I need to subtract a little bit from where I'm ending, but that little bit is something weird. It is like I'm changing what grad is if I'm doing this. If I take away the first pixel, it doesn't seem so bad, because I know where I'm starting. I suppose I know where I'm ending, so is it really just I recalculate gradient to be or do I actually not do that? Do I calculate the gradient again to be yd. Oh my goodness. gosh. Because outside of both of these, I could just recalculate the gradient. But I don't need to recalculate the gradient. I am going to end up doing this. I'm going to end up drawing a picture of this, I can tell. 15 minutes already, and I'm just really pondering and pondering. And this isn't even the last stage of it. When I've done this, what I'll have is this set of data, assuming insanely that all of this stuff's correct. What I'll have is this set of data which I then have to interpret into, you know, color values plucked from a gradient. And I still have to complete that gradient editor box in a little way. There are a couple of little things. But so anyway, enough distracting myself. Maybe I should just draw a really simple version of this. Because I need to consider this. I need to consider what it means to move those values in. Like, I think that's it's just all I can do, and I think this other end like if I'm moving in the last pixel, actually I'm kind of getting a new gradient. If I get a new gradient before I adjust the first pixel, am I introducing another slight inaccuracy? Do I have to consider the last pixel first so that I say, oh, I'm not drawing the last pixel, I'm not going quite as far, so I need a new gradient. I think I do need to do last pixel first, and then if I have a new gradient based on where I'm going, then I'm fine to just still add gradient if I am eliminating the first pixel. Well, let me see. So assuming that I haven't, I will just reorder it, because so if not drawing the last pixel, go 1 pixel less distance and recalculate the gradient, because we want to go 1 pixel's worth less. And God, I'm trying to picture it in my mind. I'm just trying to say, what is the little bit we chop off? I feel like there's a really... The bit that comes off is the... I have a feeling I've got this wrong. The bit that comes off is the proportion that 1 pixel is of the entire gradient. And that is the gradient divided by it's the gradient, I think, divided by the x difference, like the overall x difference. At this stage I want to know the overall x difference. And well, maybe does this gradient... Okay, no. I think I just figured it out. Difference x minus equals 1.0. gradient equals the y difference, which hasn't changed, divided by x difference. And I think I leave it at that. And in this case, it's just a case of offsetting where I start by what I have figured out, whether or not I'm drawing the end. I don't like it. I do not like it. And it's not dx minus equals 1. It's dx minus equals the sine of dx. Shrink dx by 1. As I'm shrinking LE, line start, and is it until or is it to? I find I'm getting quite confused, I suppose. OX equals line start to line end, step sine of dx. Can I do that? Or is that just going to really upset things? This is really going to take some testing, because I am not confident of that. There are many parts here I'm just uncertain of. But then we've got this case where there's a greater movement in the y direction than the x, and in this case a vertical line is possible. So I say if, but actually I don't think it matters, because in this case gradient isn't really a gradient. I think I'm saying dx, difference of x divided by difference of y. Now, one of these cases, I'm sure, will result, like, if both of these are 0, then is xd greater than y? Is the x difference greater than the y difference? No. It comes to here. In all other circumstances, though, whenever there is an actual line, which will be every time, but I can't risk it. Whenever, no, not necessarily every time. Actually, now I think about it, you could easily set this up to fail. So okay. The point is mainly this is the number I want this time. This is the x difference divided by the y difference. No, hang on. Okay, I'm going to just go over it again in my mind. This is so tedious, but if we're going further horizontally than we are vertically, then the difference pixel to pixel is the y difference divided by the x difference. Is it always that? The gradient. I mean, I confuse myself more because I'm reusing this thing gradient just because it's a floating point video, but it's not really a gradient. I'm looking for the step to take in the y each time. This time I'm looking for the step to take in the x each time in this part of the code, because I've decided that ish, you're travelling further in the y direction than the x, so I want the difference in x. So the change in x is the x difference, yeah, divided by, okay, you're right, no, I am right, I've just had to think it through. But here I do have to check. If dy equals 0, 0, do one thing, else perform the division by dy. And if dy is 0, then we've got here, and both things are 0 basically. Is that just the case? If dx is, if the absolute value of dx, oh boy, if the absolute value of dx is equal to the absolute value of dy, which actually also could be true, you know, it could just be a 45-degree line. We come to here. Y difference. This is larger than x difference. But if the y difference is still 0, well, grad equals 0, 0. I wonder where that's going, that little bit of logic. I have crashes in my visions of the future. Okay, line x equals, yeah, OL SX. I think this is the same. I can see me repeating myself, so I will, because the integer of it. Let me see, I think, I really do think that I'm repeating myself. And actually I think am I? Well, the bit down here I'm not repeating myself. That changes depending on, as does the grad. With this bit I am. I think that regardless of which way I'm going, no, I'm not at all. I'll get sensible. Start y. No, line start equals that, and line end is the integer of the output line, end y. Okay. And again, if not last pixel, end, if not first pixel, end, and this time for OY equals line start to line end, step the sign of difference y. Next. OX equals the integer of, hang on a moment, of dx. Why don't I like that now? It's because I have something like, did I not make Lx and Ly? I did. It's because I'm not using, I've got OX and OY. Oh, my head. I've made some mistakes here, haven't I? No, that's okay, that's okay. Well, start y, end y. press on. Data offset equals, again it is OX, I think, plus OY times OWI times 4 DataBank poke unsigned int data offset DataBank peak unsigned int data offset plus 1 dx plus equals grad. Not last pixel. Line end minus equals the sign of the y difference. dy minus equals the sign of dy. I have a bad feeling about this. If dy is 0, then I think I skip a lot. I really just think I bail. In fact, I think it's more like I'm checking if dy is not 0 and doing all this if it's not. Yeah. And again, I recalculate grad equals dx divided by dy. I think that if y equals 0 and somehow x is still not larger than y, then x is also 0. And if the dx and dy are 0 and 0, then there is no line. So I am going to say, even though I discovered that the line is on the screen here, I discover well, not the line actually exists. If ID is 0 here, the line has no length. I'm extremely skeptical of this logic, to be fair. But I'm just going to see it through. Line start plus equals the sign of the y difference. And dx, yeah, plus equals grad. I'm so skeptical. Really am. But okay. But in a way, what I've just done is, I think, all the logic for the line. It's all the logic I can think of. Like, I'm pretty sure there are problems with this. But at the same time, oh boy, I'm pretty sure there are problems with this. But at the same time, all of the steps that I think I need to be carrying out, there is some code there to do them. That's, you know, not much of a boast, because I have no idea if the code will ever work. in my mind, I have attended to each of the things that I think needs attending to. If I find out that there's some massive thing I've just forgotten to do, then that's going to be annoying. What I am prepared to find out is that there are problems with lots of pieces of my logic, and I'm going to have to find a way to test it. And the first thing that I'm going to have to do is find a way of displaying it. There's the rest of that method, this poor creaking method, draw curve gradient, which now makes, I think I'm right in saying, apart from poke u and t, guess I need that. I think I'm right in saying just variable assignments, maths, and decisions. No function calls. Okay. Well, it's pretty horrible. But here's where I come back. Hopefully with DataB really neatly filled with a bunch of integers. What do I do with DataB? Probably what I should do is get it to output to the console here. I hate to say it because it's so boring. I could get it to output to a text file. Probably getting it output to the console, because what I can do is I can make some very simple examples at very low resolutions and see and that's what the first thing I'm going to do next time is, because now that's been nearly 40 minutes. Render gradient. Look at that chunk of stuff. It would be really nice to get this off into a separate process, to get all of the rendering off to a separate process. And so let me just, for the sake of fun and curiosity, look at the size of that recursive. It starts at bang on 1000. How nice. That saves my maths a bit of stress. And okay, just under 250, 248 lines. And, you know, let's say I've got all that right. Let's just be super optimistic. It concerns me, you know, that it's all that, but on the other hand, I just have to remember that that is basically doing all the drawing. It's not like it was before when I was calling pretty kind of OpenGL-like draw line, which would have been passing only a few pixels, only a couple of vertices I should say, to OpenGL, but I'm pretty sure it was drawing a couple of triangles and having to clip those. Then that's OpenGL doing it. This is just my processor doing it. Then the graphics hardware on this machine is pretty modest. Executing this might just be fine. I don't know, but I suppose I'll find out soon enough, and then I am anxious about it. Next time, getting this thing to display something.